Hey, man, I had this crazy ass dream that I talked to these Southern rappers, man. They were trying to school me on the game and shit, man. Check this shit out right here. At first I thought I was last of a dying breed, but rap's kinda thirsty, indeed with a dying need. For a nigga such as you, always spitting the truth. Took a nigga from Stuttgart, Arkansas to come through. School the young fools about the game of life and its barriers. And the future for us as a people really getting scarier. Of knowing you can spit it to the fact they understand what it is to hold your own and be a man. You got it all in your hands. It's up to you to keep the South on lock and have niggas great as Jigga quoting verses from you, Doc. You got potential to be greater than Pac, so keep it trill and put it down for your state. Now that's the motherfucking deal. Well, I done seen a lot of rappers get big off ass kissing, but boy, you wanna kept it real. That's what the game's missing. We gon' hold you down like family, man, till we deceased. And if anybody hating, then we disturbing their peace. Hey, super cool and the threat at the same, and I think it's about that time they see your face in the game. It's pretty bold the way you're holding it, man. I got to say you got potential to be one of the game. Well, I'm glad to see you made it. You're real and you're underrated. You're even so colorful, not even Clorox faded. Knew you was one of the greats the very first time that I played it. The military got your back if somebody come trying to hate it. Now Warden know they respecting your mind, you gon' shine. And I'm thinking that you done hit the game around the right time. Judging from what I know about you, you's a dirty South soldier. Nothing but love and respect from real G's from the north.
Don't get caught up with all the rest of these niggas. Just keep doing what you be doing. That's collecting your figures. Stay focused on your career. Don't make no hectic decisions. A lot of slow shit up ahead, so play your move with precision. Okay.
Now this game is full of fakes, my nigga. You gotta stay on your toes. Forget about them parties. Stay focused. Fuck drugs and hoes. Gotta keep a clear head and don't forget about your folks. At the beginning of your career, cause slowly coming to a close.
Now let me touch on that. From the word go, there's no coming back. We paved the way for you to put your state up on the map. Kick the truth to the truth of our future, bo, it's all divine. No need for wishing you luck, boy, you got undeniable shine.
Shout it, a real cool ass nigga scratching and surviving. Bringing something to the game to keep this thing live, man. Keep spitting fire and continue on inspiring to the consumers of this art life's precious, and so keep striving.
You got a spark, dude, shouting out the dark, dude. A monster in these waters of rap, these niggas sharks, fool. Your flow's crazy, you got it, it's all gravy. You prove them from Weezy, baby. Please say that, baby.
You got it, my nigga, the game is yours. The flow is hot, a star is born. Watch for these fake suckers that be flooding the game, and stay true to what you be doing, the world is saving your name.
So I took what all of them said, start smashing shows and killing them. To know they had my back was just pumping up my adrenaline. The whole world knew about Bo and everyone was feeling them. Oh shit, oh fucked up. Fuck. Oh shit. Let me get the fuck up. Turn that down!
All right. Now, speaking of do better, let's first talk about where we left off last time. We had some technical difficulties, and you know, we were talking about the football team. We were trying to wrap up the football season. Again, today is a national championship game. Razorback fans, just like everybody else across the country, are going to be tuning in a little bit to check it out. But if we look at Arkansas, where we are now, looking towards 2025, in what areas would you say they need to improve in order to get in this 12-team playoff next year?
Every area possible. And I believe Notre Dame's on our schedule next year. Am I correct?
That is correct.
Hot dog. So you see what we're going to face a national champion or the building of a possible national championship. We have to improve on everything. In terms of individual play, trusting your teammates, coaches having a philosophy that fits the style of play, and our playmakers have to make play. So we fit everything. We need to improve in every aspect, and that comes with time. This will be the first time that I believe our quarterback has a familiar offensive coordinator in consecutive seasons. So familiarity will be good. I think we have a couple receivers that know what they want to do. We have a possession receiver that should get on the field from Kansas City and let that grown man get out there and catch some balls. That may change up some thought process. And then, hopefully Coach Pitt get in there with the offensive line and get them to not just hold blocks, but create some holes. And then we run the ball, and that's how you create opportunity for the team.
Now, speaking of running the ball, now, I guess I'm old school too. And to me, defense and running the ball wins championships. To me, it always has and always will. And of course, with your teams there at Arkansas, that was where you guys, bread was buttered. And
Yeah.
I imagine it was kind of tricky for you being a quarterback. Although I know you played in a similar, uh, heavy run style in the wing T system. Um, in Ken Hatfield's Flexbone, and I know you in your book you talk about how you guys ran a similar system in high school.
Yeah.
But understanding the running game, like I'm sure you do, what do you think was causing some of the problems in the running game in particular over the last 2 years? Now I know under the previous OC we had a lot of success running the ball, but in the last couple of years it's been spotty at best. So when you look at the offensive line struggles and the way we approach the running game, what do you feel like we need to do to improve there?
Well, first of all, I don't think we really teach blocking anymore because we're afraid of the head-to-head contact. We got this CTE scare, and we don't practice downhill blocking. We just practice locking up and then allowing the running back to pick the hole instead of creating a hole. So with those big offensive linemen, if we could fire off, and get body on body and create some space, that 2 yard gain may be 5 yards. And if he reads it correctly, it may be 15 or be one of those explosive plays. But we don't teach that anymore because we're afraid of losing linemen. And once we get into that aspect of not playing football the way we once played, where it's really tackling, it's really blocking, it's really hitting folks, and start playing this finesse game, with our style of play, it may be difficult because we're not getting the necessary push in this league. I believe other teams have to be practicing it because they're creating holes, and they have some backs that can hit those holes and make those home run plays. We struggled in that the past couple of seasons.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that kind of stood out to me. A lot of times I would listen to Sam's press conferences after the game while they were struggling to run the ball, and he would talk about technique a lot and stuff like that. And I go back and I watch the film, and I see guys up here when they're blocking versus like when I, came through in football, where it was always taught at every level when I was coming up, it was always low man wins. We used to have a blocking drill where, you couldn't raise your head up too much, like say above chest level without hitting your head on the cage there. And you had,
Knocking yourself out.
yeah. I mean, and so obviously it's like these guys aren't taking that approach. But I mean, and especially with you, having watched football all these years, and now, being around it at the high school level too. Is that's what happening? It's like coaches aren't teaching that anymore, or
It's just a style of play. We've gotten away from those fundamental things. And it's still a tackling and a blocking game, but the physicality of practice is not really out there anymore because of the fear of someone getting injured, head trauma, etc. And so, we don't tackle the way we used to. We tackle donuts and we tackle with shoulder and all those things there. And I understand the safety issue of it, but it's also still a game. And so, tough man wins. It's not only in football, it's in basketball, mental toughness in baseball under pressure, still being able to occupy and do your job. Toughness still wins. And if I'm tougher than you are, and I also have a skill set and a technique, we're going to win every time. So if you get, I'm not really high on all these stars that we try to put beside people's name, but you give me someone that has a desire, has a frame, and a knowledge of how to block and tackle, they're your better players. And they make those necessary plays in crucial situations.
yeah. Now, like looking at the passing game, right? Let me ask you, like, obviously you played football as a quarterback.
A
You
little bit.
But you also were a catcher in baseball. And so,
Correct.
anybody knows, like, to be a catcher in baseball, you got to have a strong arm, an accurate arm to be able to place the ball, throw people out and stuff like that. Um, you know, what was it like for you, like, coming up as a quarterback during that time who probably had an arm, but playing in a system where you didn't get a chance to show it off? I mean, did you feel like if they had? Let me ask you this: if you played in a system today, how would you think you do?
Be like I was back then. Still good. Probably better. Give me the ball at 7 yards versus 2 yards, and let me make a decision. Uh, but many of our fans, many of the people that may tune into the show will forget we lined up in the wishbone one play, and the next play we're in the shotgun, and then the play after that we may drop back. So we played in the same style. We had the same kind of offensive philosophy when it came to passing, and that was due to Coach Lee and his way of presenting the offense in a formation that Coach Hatfield had us aligned in. But the reading of keys, the dropping back, throwing on time, we still did that. It was just a philosophy that I grew up not only in high school but in college. That 3 yards in the cloud of dust was how we're going to play,
Right.
and we'll do everything we can defensively to keep us in the game and offensively not lose the game. Now, I would much rather throw the ball because that way I didn't get hit as much. Man, when you're getting your butt knocked off every daggone play, you want to find a way to get the ball to other people in space and let them do what they're there for. And we had the players. It was just a philosophy.
Um, when you look at defenses today, you know, Arkansas, we struggled off and on against the pass. I think we did a pretty decent job. In what areas do you feel like we need to improve on the defensive side of the ball when you look at this
Being
team?
able to cover, we have to be able to cover. If you want to blitz, if you want to put a blitz package together, we have to be able to cover on the corners, and we have to make sure we drop back in space. So what that really means, if you can take the two receivers on the outside out of the play, and you can still cover space with your linebacker, the defensive end in space, you have a chance to be successful. Because then you can dial up different blitzes. You can dial up different coverages. But if I know you're going to line up in a two deep every time, and you're going to, just press off the corners, and we can find holes, I'm gonna eat you alive in that also. And so today's football, you have more skilled players that don't really understand the game. Same thing we have in basketball. Basketball we are living in the most skillful time of the sport. The young people and college players don't understand the game. You mentioned it in your monologue. Blocking out is half of it. You can block out and still not get the rebound because you don't go get the ball. And the most aggressive people are going to get their ball, or they're going to get the loose ball, or they're going to create a loose ball, which is all spells disaster. So we had the same thing on football field. We had the same thing in the basketball gym. You have to be tough, and you have to be able to be accountable through your toughness.
Yeah, it's one of the things I noticed last couple of years with Arkansas basketball. It started with Musselman, and he talked about how he would go around to NFL teams, and he saw how they would do station work, and that was how they set up their practices and stuff like that. And he tried to copy that into Razorback basketball, but then he would say things like, "Oh, we don't scrimmage, we just do station work, And but then, similar to what Calipari was talking about, and I know kind of his issue has been not having a full, complement of players so that you can go 5-on-5 and scrimmage and stuff like that. Now, I know the value of, and I experienced the value of doing your section work. You work on your individual tasks and that for your position and individual drills and all that's fine. But I don't see how my man says the volume is low. All right, Tony, appreciate that, man. Let me see if I can do something with that. But basically, hopefully that's a little bit better. But you know, it's the lack of gameplay. You know, whether it's scrimmage or actual game, because I know a lot of good teams always say, well, hey, practices were, games were easy because where we practice. And if you get that game simulation intensity and toughness and those kind of things in practice, that translates over to the field. And I think we even saw this in the college football playoffs where you had teams that were off for 2 or 3 weeks, and then they were expected to come out and perform against teams that had been more active, and a lot of those teams were losing. So, talk about that aspect of it in terms of, I mean, I know you were just touching on it, but when you don't get that complete aspect of the game where you're blocking, you're tackling, you're running all in one motion versus doing individual things step by step, how that can sometimes kind of hold back performance.
Speed of the game, understanding leverage, thinking before and then reacting during. Those things only happen when you do live stuff. And so, I'm gonna go back and forth through the sports if I can. I don't comprehend the AAU philosophy of only having 7, 8, or 9 players where you can't practice. That's in my estimation as a former player and a coach. That's ludicrous. That's a waste of time and effort. You have to have at least 12 players so you can, you project someone being injured or sick, but you still have enough to go out and have scrimmages, be able to run set plays and things of that nature. Same thing you do in pass scale in football. I don't understand why our passing offense only works when everyone is running routes in concession. You can't just throw the ball to one person. You need to have 2 quarterbacks out there or 3, and then you throw it to those other receivers so they get used to coming out of the break with people in the area, catching the ball on the sideline, the bad ball, etc. In the wind, in the rain. It makes no sense to have a 15-minute script practice with a pass skill against the defense, and you only throw the ball to one player.
Right.
Or when you go against, pass scale against no one, and you just have one person throwing the ball. What are the other receivers doing? Well, they get used to not catching the ball. They get used to not running the route properly. They get used to, half-assing, and I'm going to use that phrase. And so then you put them in the ball game, and your number 1 receiver is covered, and then your second receiver is jogging because he never gets the ball at practice out of that play, and then you want to be upset with that kid. That's a coaching philosophy. So same thing we do in basketball. We rarely go without some form of competition. Every other drill is a competitive drill. There is a consequence. There is a winner and a loser. But it's iron sharpening iron. Mm-hmm. And we don't do that with varsity players against the JV. That's a waste of time also. If the varsity players are trying to earn playing time, they have to do it against a varsity player, a caliber player at that game speed. And then we also get a chance to see whether or not they can play. If you can't do it in practice, I can't expect you to do it in the game. So if you go to 9 players in a game after practicing with 12 and 15 all the time, then that's just your roster. You picked wrong. Our players haven't matured, they haven't gotten better. But you have to scrimmage. And so, how do you teach linemen how to block and defensive players how to rush the quarterback? It has to be live. It can't be assimilated all the time. It can't be just one-on-one. I mean, you got to learn to miss people, jump out of the way of people, how to get up under people. You got to learn how to run through people. And then you see who has the motor and who has that desire. So that's my soapbox for the day. You have to practice at game speed in order to get game speed results.
Right. And I want to give a shout out to Tony O'Neill. Tony and I encountered each other back during the great Madden Wars of the early 2000s. and he's a Dolphin fan like me. He's also a coach. I think he coaches semi-pro football, and so I appreciate you tuning in, man, and appreciate the tip on the volume too. So I hope that's better for everybody out there. Now, getting back to your point though, Greg, again, it's something I'm noticing with the basketball team. We're going to talk about them in a minute, but the thing you were talking about, how you see them in games and, they're bumping into each other. They're fumbling balls. A guy passes to him. He looks like he's not ready for him. I just have to believe that's coming directly from what you're talking about. If you're not playing at that level of intensity in practice, in live ball games, where it's not just a drill, where everything's in this controlled situation, where unexpected things happen and all this kind of stuff, you get in the game and you're not prepared for it. If things don't go according to script, you're lost. And I think we saw that last year with Musselman, and I really believe that's a lot of what we're seeing right now with this Razorback team.
It's possible, but you also have to be in the moment. So, there may be a difference playing in front of Missouri where they got 17,000 instead of playing at home where you got 20,000 and half the people there and they're not as vocal. And then you lose your focus. You lose your train of thought. You're not in a comfortable situation. Well, why? We haven't practiced being in a comfortable situation. So I'm not saying that this is what you're seeing. I watched the last couple of games, and I noticed certain things also. But once again, I'm not there at practice. I'm not there behind the scenes. I don't know what's taking place. I can only just, I don't want to say assume, but I see what I see, and then I just, okay, well, he wasn't ready. Well, why was he not ready? My coaching comes in, well, he's not prepared because of whatever's going on. And we don't know. They're young folks. Girlfriend didn't eat last night, didn't sleep, probably playing Madden all night. There's no telling what goes on with some of these young cats, being one myself. So, but you learn that stuff at practice. And if it's harped on enough at practice, if you put that kind of emphasis on it, then when you're playing in the game, you want that stuff to come back because now instead of thinking, I'm just reacting. I've seen it. I felt the pressure. I see the angles. I read the scouting report. I know this player does this and this and know how to attack. All those things are major. The better teams, they master those things.
Right. Now, getting back to the Razorbacks and the football team, just to wrap it up.
Okay.
As you've seen some of the guys come and go in terms of, some of the guys we've lost, some of the guys we've almost lost, and then some of the guys we brought in. Are there any guys that catch your attention, any guys from Texas, or that you kind of noticed that you kind of feel like were either major losses or major acquisitions for the team?
I'm going to tell you this. This was a major loss and it's personal. One of my former players, Izzy, came on a visit up there a couple weeks ago. A running back that was at Texas State. And he had a visit, and I was for sure we were going to get him. Mm-hmm. And I texted him, I texted Pittman, and they said they liked him, and 12 hours later, he's with Arizona. And that's who he signed with. Mm-hmm. Izzy's special because he played for me down here at Plano East. He's done a wonderful job at Texas State the last couple of years, and he would have been a great addition, not only to the team, but for the team also. I think we missed out on somebody that was real, real special. And, I don't know if it's NIL. I don't know if it was fit. I don't know what it was. But that was something I was looking forward to. I know our East Side family, coaching staff was hoping he was going to be close at home. But, that's the part of dealing with the NIL and whatever else is going on. We lost a possibility. The other guys, hopefully in 3-4 weeks, we'll see who they are in April. Get some more familiarity and just hopefully we can put it together football-wise this year and make a better showing.
Now, the guy you're talking about, what was his measurables? Like, how big was he?
5'10", 205 running back.
Running back. Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He would have made a difference.
Yeah.
And we missed out. And I don't know how we missed out, but we missed out. Players choose places they feel comfortable with. They may be the money thing. I don't know.
I mean, did they offer him?
I'm sure they did. Yeah, he was there. He put it out there on Twitter and X, everything.
Okay.
He was on the visit, and he and I spoke. Then I text Pittman, and then he said he had, he still had USC, he had Alabama, he had a couple other offers. Then he went out to Arizona, and then boom, I believe that's where he decided to go.
Okay. Well, the good thing about the NIL era is they can always come back around. You don't give them the first time, maybe next year.
See, I'm trying. I ain't even going to get into that one.
My boy Tony was saying that I would just make a correction. He's coaching in Arena League.
Okay.
Good deal. All right, so now let's go ahead and talk about the Hoop Hogs. We kind of touched on it already, but give me your take, Greg. Like, what's going on with this team, man? Why haven't they been able to win in the SEC?
Chemistry, and personally, I don't know if we run enough sets. I don't know if we run enough basketball plays. Now, it's one thing to have individual athleticism and be long and athletic, but once again, and you talked about opinion, we have skill sets, and we have to be able to play to the strength of our team. And the two-man dribble, drive, weave, kick is still in play, but you got to have them dudes. And if we don't have them dudes, and then we don't do the other basic stuff such as defend and rebound and run the floor. And we all run the floor, we're gonna get a dunk. I'm talking about running the floor when there's a transition. I'm talking about knowing that the man is gonna come off the screen, and I got to show, or I have to try to ice him on the sideline, or I'm going to sit up there and I'm going to push him back to half court. Then I have to get back, and then I don't push him. I let him turn the corner, and I don't defend, and he shoots them, mid range, or he throws an alley-oop. Those are things that you learn in practice, and you only get that in practice. You can't get that in 1 against 0 or 5 against 0, because there's resilience, there's body, there's height, there's leverage. You got to work on these things. But in watching the last 3 games, it just seems like chemistry to me on the outside looking in.
And I know you talked about that in your book. I remember one part in there you was talking about how I think they were doing some work on one of the dorms, and so that kind of uprooted you guys out of the athletic dorm for a while. And then you spent some time around regular students and other part. But then when you guys came back to football, and I think this was coming in out of your freshman year into your sophomore year, if I remember right.
Yeah.
And, that kind of threw the chemistry off a little bit for that team. And you have to wonder when you bring in all new guys. And I remember you talked a lot about the whole process of bringing in a group of guys from Arkansas. You had your guys from West Texas and some other guys from other parts of Texas, and Atwater from St. Louis, and all of you guys came together in this class that everybody kind of felt like, oh man, these guys, Arkansas done fell off. We got this coach out of Air Force, and he came in and he's not getting top recruits, and he just cobbled this group together. But you guys were able to get that chemistry.
Circle the wagon.
Exactly. So talk about that. So let me ask you this: do you feel like the sense that this team came in with this expectation that they were going to be good, an expectation that they were going to win, that they didn't have that backs against the wall type of feeling that caused them to come together as a group?
Well, hard work, if you understand when I say hard work pays off, it depends on what you put in. So if you're not working with the same guys, if you don't have the same mindset, if you don't have the same goals and desires, you never know what's going to happen when it gets hot. So coming from Kentucky, and he had, Coach Calipari had his own little hodgepodge group of guys coming in, and he's done a wonderful job previously on getting dudes to come in and buy into the same philosophy. But it hasn't worked out in the last 4 or 5 years. It wasn't just last year coming from Arkansas, from Kentucky to Arkansas. The Kentucky teams last couple of years, they weren't having the same chemistry. They're having NBA players, but they're not all fighting for the same goal. They're not fighting for each other. They're not doing all those necessary things that winning teams do. And so you still have to have those dudes. I mean, it's not X's and O's. It's guys that want to be out there, that want to play together, that understand the game, and they're willing to sacrifice in order for the bigger picture. So with that being said, I mean, unless we're getting an alley-oop dunk or we shooting a three, where are the other plays, the hustle plays? Where are the loose ball plays? When my teammate gets knocked on his butt, are we all running over there to pick him up? When he shoots a free throw, make or miss, are we walking up there giving him some love? Those are chemistry things that you work on in practice, and then you put it on display in games. Our group in that 84 group, we would call the ragtag group. Mm-hmm. Some even considered us the worst group to ever be put together. But there was some competition. There was some camaraderie. There was some earned respect, and we got that on the scout team. Mm. And we had to go run scout team. I was fortunate enough to run the scout team, but you saw the guys that were making plays on the scout team. And then we all ate together as freshmen. And we sat at the same table. We went to lunch or dinner at the same time. And a love for one another grew. But we also had some great leadership and personalities with the guys that were older. And that's what I'm talking about. The Donnie Center, the Raven Caldwells, the Ira Wells, all these guys from all over Arkansas, etc. But they had some great personalities. And they pulled us in, and we integrated pretty good. And then our class were those dudes. Now, they were the first class to win the conference in 15 years, but they were also the foundation that led to that championship. Four of us didn't get to be a part of that championship because we all played as freshmen. But we were still those dudes that were the foundation. And that's because we loved each other. We fought with each other. We hung out at movies. And we lifted. And we did all those things as a group of 21 guys.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I've kind of honed on to with this basketball team. Because when they come in with just 9 guys, and, those 9 guys are pretty much assured of their spots in the rotation. Mm-hmm. And the other guys that are below them, I mean, it looks like there's no place for them in the rotation, even though I hear Melo Sanchez is a deadly three-point shooter. We need three-point shooting, but he's not getting in the game. But one of the things I really loved about your book, and not just because, they had one of my boys in the story, because you talked about how, they kind of kicked you to the curb in the quarterback lineup after, kind of saying, okay, well, Greg is better than this guy, but you found yourself like completely out of the picture. And so you go over to the scout team and just, and people got to realize David Lee went on to be one of the top NFL offensive coordinators or quarterback coaches in the NFL. So even though you guys were running the wishbone, obviously he knew what he was doing, and you talk about that in the book too. But you went over there to the scout team just as a competitor, wanting to go against the first team defense, which if anybody know Arkansas Razorback football during that day was no joke. Because if Arkansas didn't have nothing else, they had defense. And you went out there and made an impression on Fred Goldsmith to where he was like, man, this guy coming over here against our first team defense, and putting on the show. And I guess Kerry was over there. Now, what was Kerry doing? Was he a tight end?
Tight end. Kerry was a tight end.
Right.
And so, as the story goes, and I have to say thank you to Coach Goldsmith also. Because Coach Goldsmith, after 2 scrimmages, his insistence on me playing with and going to the varsity side of the football is the only reason I got to play as a freshman. But what actually happened was I was told I would be I would come into the university as the number 3 quarterback. And I bought that, hook, line, and sinker. That's a dream for almost any young player. They can be told when you're being recruited, you can play quarterback. And to be playing quarterback in 1983 and 84 in the state of Texas, I was one of 22 black quarterbacks in the entire state of Texas. When I got to Arkansas, I was one of 3 in the entire state of Arkansas.
Right.
All right. Those are astronomical kind of numbers, but it was like late in the ball game also. So when I go to the university, I'm told I'm going to be the 3rd string quarterback, and you had 2 seniors and a junior in front of you. I'm saying, yes, I'm going to do that. Then I got there and looked at the size of the guys, watched them play, and I'm like, I can play with these cats, What's the system? Oh, the same system I had in high school. Long story short, when the varsity players reported, I went from being the number 1 freshman to being like number 11. There were 8 other guys. I'm going like, what the hell? 8 other guys. So now you have 11 quarterbacks in the quarterback room. And I'm going like, I was lied to. But, not understanding the situation or how college football operated, those were scholarship players, those were squadsmen, and those were walk-ons. And didn't know. So that 3rd day of practice, when I'm sitting on the sideline watching, Brad and Danny Nutt and Cal and Rodney Ford, and I see the other quarterback going down to the scout team, I said, well, shoot, if I can go down there and play versus sitting over here watching, I can get better, I can get recognized, whatever. So I jogged on down with some of the squadsmen and some of the other redshirt quarterback, and then got into got on the field to run the scout team quarterback, and was scoring on the number 1 defense in the Southwest Conference.
Right.
And then I made a little impression. I argued with Coach. He told us to run the same play over. We had success on the play. He would say, run the play again, so he can get the defense some familiarity, but they could also tee off. I would throw it to another receiver. Then he'd get bad. We're like, they're gonna do the same thing in the game. They're not gonna throw it to the same receiver. They're not gonna run the same play twice, and that's stupid. Or he said, the card would have a draw handoff. I would fake the handoff, pull it, run it to the end, pitch or keep. And he's going like, that's not scripted. I'm like, hey man, I was just being a knucklehead trying to play and have fun. And he took me up to the Coach Lee and Coach Hatfield and said, hey, I want this kid running Saturday scrimmage. I only want him going, and he should be running the 2nd team offense. And that vote of confidence from Coach Goldsmith was put to Coach Hatfield and Coach Lee in front of all the reporters and everyone else. They all saw it. So Saturday, I got a chance to run the 2nd team offense against the number 1 defense, 1st team defense, with no offensive practice. So here's the play. Yeah, they just drew the play up. Here's the play. Want you to run the play. Okay, play 32 or 32, and everyone who 3rd back. Oh, that's no problem. And we did it in short yardage, and we scored on the number 1 defense with 2nd team offense. And we played the very first game next week. The Monday, I'm not on scout team. I'm listed as a 3rd string quarterback. I'm on the travel team, and 2 weeks later, I'm playing in my first game.
Right. But yeah,
crazy.
But that's a good illustration of the point I'm talking about with the lower run guys on a team. Yeah. If you get guys that got talent in that position, it makes the guys above them better because it pushes them, and it makes your team better because maybe some of if those other guys aren't performing, you got somebody who can come in there and perform. But if they don't have anybody there pushing them, then, it just doesn't serve the team well. And I think, again, that's one of the things that's hurting this Razorback basketball team, because in positions, 10 through 13 or how many of they got on the team, everybody talks about these guys like they just got them out of study hall or something. And but instead of having scholarship guys who could have went to Memphis or UAB or somewhere, you don't have that kind of talent pushing these guys, and it's showing when they get on the court.
Well, you never know what kind of guys you recruited until you see them in that kind of atmosphere. But once again, that's an AAU deal. I don't only take 7 or 8 guys, so I don't have to hear the parents, don't have to hear complaining about playing time. Everyone understands the pecking order. And that's also an old college mentality of the 70s and early 80s too. Only recently, even with Coach Richardson, he was going to play 12 guys because you're going to play your butt off, and when you were expected to do that, and if you didn't, you got the broadside or whatever. The talking to, the cussing to, the embarrassment of sitting on the bench, whatever. These guys don't have that right now. And so it's a different mentality. I'll say it again, though, Pat. You have to have those kind of dudes. If you don't have those kinds of dudes, you cannot expect that kind of output. Everyone's a good when they're a front runner in the league. Show me what you got when you're down. Show me what you're doing when you're not scoring, or you're not catching the ball, or you're not hitting the ball. Are you going to bunt? Are you going to dive for that ball? Are you going to do all those other intangible things that are winning plays that we don't put in the stat sheet? And that's not where we don't have that going. And it's not just with us as a Razorback. That's a lot of our mentality with a lot of our young folks today. They didn't have to sit. They didn't have to miss out. They've always been given a trophy. They always get a Kool-Aid at the end of a game. They always pat it on the back, even when they didn't play well. The accountability and the work ethic is not always the same, top to bottom.
You said something really interesting when you said that you don't always know what you get when you recruit a guy. And I want to ask you, because you've been through all phases of it. You were recruited at a high level out of high school. You come to a major college. You then go on to coach. And you got guys that get recruited. So you've been through all angles of it. How is it that they get guys that they don't know? Because I would think that you look for those things during the recruiting process.
Let me tell you.
Tell me.
Potential. That's number one thing. Potential and athleticism. All right? If you have some athleticism, you got some length, and you have some potential, that's the first thing they're looking at. Most guys, let's say in the state of Texas, we don't play a 6'18" will not schedule a 118. Size, speed, numbers, etc. goes against the 118. But in that 1A ball game, 1A against another 1A kid, this kid may be the biggest or fastest and the toughest on the team. And then we think that kid should be able to play at that next level. And I mean next level, 1A kid playing against a 6A kid, that's a major leap in class, athleticism, ability, coaching, all of that. So are we going to recruit that kid out of the 1A that's bigger, faster, stronger than everyone in the 1A, or are we going to find someone similar that's at a 6A that may not be as big or as fast, but we've seen them play against that kind of competition? These are some of the dilemmas that the coaches have. And so you can't see everything. You have Huddle and Facebook and Streamline and all that now, but the level of competition has a lot to do with it also. And finding a diamond in the rough, they don't want to go through that. That's why they're using the junior colleges now, and instead of getting out there finding good high school kids and developing them.
I mean, I think that's what it is, if you ask me, because again, my perspective is, like when we came out in '84, I didn't, it kind of caught us all off guard when Otis, Reg, and Kerry got that scholarship to Arkansas. It was like we knew we were good. We had success all through high school. And, only in hindsight could you see, like, okay, Kerry got drafted into the NFL. Richard Brothers, I think, got drafted by the Bears. So some of the guys we played against were, D1 players you could see in hindsight. But like coming out, it was like, okay, well, we're just little guys from Stuttgart. We're nothing special, whatever. We'd be happy to get a scholarship to UCA or something like that. But then when Hatfield came along and whatever he saw something in those guys that was like, okay, you guys come up here, and gave them the opportunity. That tells me that he knew what he was looking at. Where I think a lot of scouts and coaches, they don't know what they're looking at. Because, I'll give you this example too. I got a little cousin, and I've seen a lot of guys over the years. Because again, I played with Otis and Reg and Kerry, who played at Arkansas, got drafted into the NFL, played at a high level and all that. We grew up together. So I had that experience. I also played with guys like Scottie Pippen and Willie Davis when I went to UCA. And so I've been next to guys and been on the court in the field with guys that went on to be great players, if not good players. And then I see guys as a reporter, in my career as a journalist, and I'm covering sports again all over Arkansas. And I see guys, I'm like, he's good. Like I covered Jerry Franklin at Marion. Okay, he was good. I could see him playing for the Razorbacks, but he's not unique. He's not a once in a generation player, in Arkansas. Those guys are a dime a dozen. You go out to these little towns like Blytheville and Helena, Mariana, and, places like that. You see guys like that all the time, but they're just not getting recruited. And I think, like in Texas, where you guys you have more coaches, you get more attention. And one thing I noticed, even in the newspaper business, the newspapers are still alive and well down in Texas. All the Texas little towns still have their newspapers. They're still up and going, hiring reporters who cover this stuff actually, rather than waiting on some central location in one part of the state to do everything for them. And I think that's another thing that's hurting Arkansas. But, I don't know. I just don't understand how they look over these guys, because I just did a highlight tape for a guy last month that I'm sitting there looking at his highlights.
Mm.
He's got it. But I asked him who he's getting recruited by. UAM and Henderson and all that. I'm like, I just don't get it, man.
Well, how did they do it 30 years ago? It was word of mouth.
Yeah.
So it's word of mouth. And with all the technology and word of mouth.
That's the thing. Excuse me.
Well, because people don't want to be wrong. People don't want to be wrong about a player, or they try to keep it to themselves. And, there's 100 reasons why we miss on people. And then there's 100 reasons why you should go after some guy. And then you never know how it works. It's really a crapshoot sometimes. But you know when you got that dog. You know when you got that difference maker. It may not be at that same position. It may not be next year. But you have to be willing to develop, and we're not willing to do that right now. Everything's about, we're in the microwave age. And so we want ready-made players. We want men instead of boys. We want them to make good, proper decisions when they're still children. And when we forget all this, and then we put these responsibilities and demands on them, and they get upset when they don't do what we think they should do, or they don't make the 25-year-old decision at 17, or they don't go home instead of going to this girl's house or going to that club. I mean, these are all the things that we share with our players that are inside information to try and keep them successful, giving them that one leg up. So when they're confronted with those challenging thoughts, and not going to bed early knowing I have a test tomorrow, or not turning in my work on time, and we don't have a they get lackadaisical. They don't make the proper decision. They put themselves in compromising position, and that's on us as coaches, as mentors, as dads, as parents. And then these kids go out there and do stupid stuff because they're kids. You know, if you go get a kid that's from Mariana, ain't never been out of Mariana, and you take him up to the University of Illinois in Champaign, how the heck are you supposed to know how to act up there? Whole different world. But we think they should be able to do it because what? Because they play a ball, they run, jump a little bit higher, they made average grades, but they haven't been put in a situation where they get taken advantage of. And we don't think about that as coaches. We just send our boys away. No, man, go visit, go talk to them, go have them come to practice, have them give us a call here. Don't recruit our kids without talking to us. You know, all those little things that they used to do. And once upon a time, when you didn't have video, you didn't have AAU, you didn't have camps, that you had to go spend some time and lie and wine and dine and BS and whatever. We just take it on the fly, see them on the video, say we want you, we'll give you X amount of dollars. Boom, they make a decision. You get a kid up here like I went to Arkansas with belt, with bootstrap jeans and a fleece jacket. Mm-hmm. Now, they ever know what's really going to be like in 12-degree weather and snow. You get out of the element and you just find things. And so, the long story short, we miss because we don't do a lot of research. And we much rather go find a 21-year-old freshman that's played at 3 different schools that looks like Hercules instead of taking an 18-year-old kid and investing some time in him and then putting him in a situation to be successful. And that's why I'm going to drop that off. So we're running out, bro.
Oh, all right. Yeah, so, we almost game time here. So we can stop it right there. Before we go, though, who you got in the game?
Honestly speaking, don't care. I dislike Notre Dame because they're not in the conference. Ohio State's in the Big Ten. I think the Big Ten is overrated.
Did y'all?
Huh?
Y'all ever play Notre Dame?
Well, no, we played University of Miami instead, and they beat the dog snot out of us. We were trying to get Notre Dame on the schedule at that time when they were playing, and they had
when Holtz there then.
Yes, and I was begging Coach Broyle to try to make that, and he said he was trying to get that game, but he got overwhelmed with Jimmy Johnson and all that, and we opened up another can of whoop butt. We didn't know that was coming. Yeah. But no, we never got a chance to play Notre Dame. But they should be in the conference. They're not in the conference. Right. So I ain't gonna give them love. Ohio State is Ohio State.
As Football Observer, who you think?
Yeah. Ohio State has what they predict 16 NFL players on the roster. Notre Dame has 1. But if I'm going to pick a team, I'm going to pick Notre Dame.
Okay. You picking it with your heart or your head?
I don't care. It's a game. It's just be a game. Don't care. But I will pick Notre Dame.
All right.
All right.
Well, hey, Greg, man, appreciate you joining us.
Thank you, sir.
And I really appreciate everything. And everybody go check it out. The Hog Whisperer. Get a tip.
Yes, sir.
Definitely a good read. If you're a Razorback fan and you want to get some good insights to the program, it's a really must read. So check it out.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Appreciate it. Good talking to you. See you soon.
All right, man.
All right.
All right. Okay, everybody. So I really appreciate everybody tuning in today. Again, shout out to Tony O'Neill and all the people who tapped in and weighed in a little bit. We do have the chats open. I went ahead and broke down and got that eCam live going, and it is a lot easier. It's just something about Mac and Apple products that just work well with my brain, and I can figure their things out a lot better than I can anything on Windows or open source. You know, open source is great. I really like it for a lot of reasons, but again, I'm not a tech guy. And so figuring out all that when you're trying to be creative and do something is just, it's just a bit much. But again, I appreciate everybody for tuning in and watching, and we will be back again. Hopefully we can get Greg on again, and especially again for Black History Month. We got something special coming up for y'all then. But in the meantime, y'all enjoy the game. I hope everybody, whether y'all enjoyed the inauguration or not is a whole nother story. But, hope everybody enjoyed your Martin Luther King Day either way, and celebrated that if you did nothing else. And but for now, we're going to sign off, and we'll see y'all again next week.
All right. Yeah. What? Yeah. Lights out, baby.
Got him fucked up, got my man in the game.
AKA Blind Dog Willie Brown from the Sugar Town. Came to put it down, you know what I'm saying?
My man on the subboat. Sugar Town, baby, but ain't sweet. We gon' put it down like this. Yeah. Come on, come on, come on.
This game is fucked. Ever since a nigga got signed, I drop rhymes and dot spines with Glock 9s. Let me stop lying. I don't dot spines with Glock 9s, but I got mine. Cop and shine for those that watch and try to stop mine. Niggas sit down with both do-wop spit rounds. Got veterans in this game running ready to quit now. Cold without the ice and it ain't shit that y'all can tell me. I want niggas buying their own shit attempting to outsell me. Mouth some mind, dog, and I spit nothing but gold. Every time I drop a record, it ain't nothing but soul. Arkansas the game in half cause I'm a Razorback. I'm spitting acid that you don't feel in your facial back. Rhyme sharpen on point like the tip of a butcher knife. Unannounced like the coming of Christ, but it was I that took your life. Punch a punk on my impact, I do your body numb. My copy is natural, just like a steak of the farm, nigga. This Arkansas' finest. I'm shining so hard in this game that it's dead, you just might wind up being blinded. This Arkansas' finest. I'm spitting cool shit in the ear, you can't chill and you can't help but to rewind this. This Arkansas' finest. Running up on the kid like this shit is not a blunt, it's a mind. This Arkansas' finest. That nigga do up excel up to the ass, nigga niggas running behind. Man, I rock like Kane, I drop like bang. Can't nobody stop my thing, I'm Trump tight, man. Rock microphones from right to left because I'm tight to death. You wanna fight and step, vicious rights and left. You could left in sights of death. Put your lips on a cannon, nigga, boy. You can bite the test. I'll search the jeans and flee the scene. Squeaky clean, get up with my real niggas and go cheap some green. Don't do my bro, no maximum shooting cause I done shot ya. Had to smoke on you every morning, dropped you, don't watch ya. Hit it at the drop of a dime. My teeth yellow cause everything that I spit gon' shine. Right in the sun, fluorescent beams, no testing the team. Know what it means to have so much green? Your pockets bust from the seams? Well, I don't. Nigga, hand me everything that you got. Fireballs up my brother stealing. Man, it's not This Arkansas' finest. I'm shining so hard in this game that it's dead, you just might wind up being blinded. This Arkansas' finest. I'm spitting cool shit in your ear, you can't chill and you can't help but to rewind this. This Arkansas' finest. Running up on the kid like this shit is not a blunt, it's a mind. This Arkansas' finest. That nigga do up excel up to the ass, niggas running behind. See y'all done open the doors and call the nigga name so that he can show off his talents and act up in this thing, man. This beat to the Izzo, dude to the whiz up. And if y'all try to battle, man, y'all niggas need to stizz up. Never aiming low, dog, I'm always aiming for the quiz up. Leaving these niggas stunned with Arkansas flows that I drizz up. Trying to take over hip-hop, flip paper, never blizz up. Overflowing with talent, we niggas go grab a biz up. Soak up the game that I'm spitting, hitting your gal with southern twang. And now she betting again, she do what she wants, she bitten by the black wolf.